Did you watch John Harbaugh's press conference on Tuesday? Because if you did, you saw something really interesting. You saw Joe Shane introduce the new head coach of the New York Giants, and the man looked like he was about to have a panic attack. And I'm not the only one who noticed this. Social media was all over it. There was a clip posted saying that Shane looked like he was on the verge of an anxiety attack, and honestly, they weren't wrong. But here's the thing. If you've been paying attention to what happened behind the scenes over the last 5 days, Shane's nerves make complete sense because John Harbaugh didn't just take the Giants' job. He took over the entire operation, and Joe Shane, he just became an employee, working for the head coach, not the other way around. So today I'm going to tell you the real story of how this deal almost fell apart, how a secret meeting saved it, and why the Giants just completely changed how their franchise operates for the first time in their history. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Let's go back to last Wednesday. Harbaugh flies into New Jersey on Steve Tish's private plane. He spends over 5 hours at the facility. He meets with the Maras, he meets with Tish, he meets with Jackson Dart. Everything's going great. The Giants think they've got their guy. Thursday rolls around and Adam Schefter reports that a deal is expected. The Giants are so confident that they post a smirk emoji on X. Done deal, right? Not so fast. Friday comes around and there's no contract signed. Saturday morning, still nothing. And according to Ian O'Connor of The Athletic, negotiations got a little dicey on Friday night. Harbaugh himself expressed uncertainty that things would actually get done. So what was the holdup? Well, it wasn't money. Rapshi reported that the sticking point was reporting structure. In other words, the thing that they couldn't agree on was who is actually in charge of the New York Giants here. See, in Baltimore, Harbaugh reported to the owner, not to the general manager. He worked collaboratively with Ozzie Newsome and Eric DaCosta, but he didn't answer to them, and that's how he operated for 18 years. The Giants have never done it that way. Their head coaches have always reported to the GM, but Harbaugh wasn't going to accept that. He needed in writing that he would report to John Mara, not to Joe Shane. He was pushing ownership to change to a coach-driven model, and here's where it gets really interesting. Even on Saturday morning, when everyone thought this was a done deal, Harbaugh's agent was still talking to the Tennessee Titans. The deal was not done. Other teams were ready to pounce if it fell apart. So how did the Giants save this? How did they convince Harbaugh to sign when negotiations had gotten dicey? Well, they had a secret meeting. On Friday, Chris Mara, the team's senior personnel executive, and John Mara's younger brother secretly met with Harbaugh at an undisclosed location somewhere between New York and Baltimore. The purpose was to ease the coach's concerns about the chain of command, to assure him that ownership was willing to change how the franchise operates, that he would get what he wanted. And it worked. By Saturday afternoon, Harbaugh had signed a 5-year, $100 million contract, making him one of the highest-paid coaches in the NFL. And just as importantly, he got the power structure that he demanded. Chris Mara admitted as much after the press conference today. He told reporters, "Think about that for a second, guys. The Giants literally changed their entire organizational structure because John Harbaugh demanded it. They've never done this before. This is the first time in franchise history that a Giants head coach will report directly to ownership instead of the general manager." Which brings us to the press conference on Tuesday and Joe Shane's very uncomfortable introduction. "We were looking for a proven winner and an elite leader. We're fortunate we were able to find both. John Harbaugh has amassed 193 career victories, 13 playoff wins, and a Super Bowl championship. Look, I'm not here to pile on Joe Shane. The man's been through a rough few years, a 20-41 record under his watch. He fired one head coach. A couple years ago, he went viral for the way he handled Saquon Barkley's free agency, and the way he handled it resulted in a division rival winning a Super Bowl. The man has had a lot of misses recently. If you take a look at the New York Giants drafts recently, Shane is notorious for the way he handled the 2022 NFL draft, drafting Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal with each of the first-round picks he had. Thibodeau has been slowly improving, but the rest of this draft class looks terrible. Then you look at 2023 when he drafted Deonte Banks with a first-round pick. But things started to get slowly better in 2024 when he drafted Malik Neighbors and Tyrone Tracy in the same draft, and of course, probably the draft that may have saved him was 2025. Abdul Carter may be a bit of a project, but Jackson Dart and Camp Scattaboo are clear studs. There's also the Darren Waller trade that didn't really work out for him very much, and of course, there was the Daniel Jones extension that didn't work out very well for the Giants, but the moment Daniel Jones leaves the New York Giants, he turns out to be an incredible quarterback for the Indians. Now, I've always defended Shane because I've said even though his moves haven't necessarily panned out, a lot of the decisions he seems to make at least have some logic and reasoning behind it. But it just never works out for him. And it must be really tough because he fired Brian Daboll this past season, and now his next head coach reports directly to ownership instead of him. That's got to be humbling. I mean, after the press conference, Shane was asked about Harbaugh having the final say on football decisions, and his answer was telling. I mean, the man looks nervous as hell, but this is what he had to say about it. And I'm not worried about that. Everywhere I've been in the league for 26 years. Everywhere I've been, the head coach and general manager work together. That's the only way it's going to work. And I'm not worried about it. Like you said, that's just something on a piece of paper doesn't matter. Really? Because if it didn't matter, why did it take an extra couple of days to negotiate? Why did the deal almost fall apart over it? Why did Chris Mara need to have a secret meeting to get it done? Mike Garofalo asked Shane about working collaboratively with Harbaugh, and Shane said that Harbaugh having the final say is just something that's on a piece of paper and it doesn't matter. But his body language tells a completely different story. Meanwhile, Chris Mara called Harbaugh the most important cog in the wheel. Not the GM, the head coach. The power dynamic is crystal clear. Now let's talk about Harbaugh because his demeanor at the press conference was the complete opposite of his general manager's. The man was energized, confident. Reporters described him as excited, exuberant, and energetic. If you were expecting some reserved elder statesman, you got the wrong guy. Harbaugh came in ready to run things, and he made his mission clear immediately. I know the challenges. I understand the expectations. I know the fans are hungry for a winner. We're here with one mission, to earn the right to be called the world champions in New York. When asked about the reporting structure controversy, Harbaugh downplayed it. He said the whole thing was overblown. He said, "We all report to the boss, and the boss is ownership." But here's the key quote. He said, "John Mara is running football operations here, and he's running it, and I'm glad he is." Notice who he didn't mention as running football operations, Joe Shane. Now, to be fair, Harbaugh did praise Shane. He called him a football man who lives and breathes football. He said he expects their partnership to be phenomenally great, but the hierarchy is clear. Harbaugh reports to Mara, Shane works with Harbaugh. That's a very different structure than what Brian Daboll had. One of the best moments from the press conference was when Harbaugh talked about Jackson Dart after the press conference. That's exactly what you want to hear if you're a Giants fan. Harbaugh isn't coming in to try to make Dart fit his system. He's going to build the offense around what Jackson Dart does best, the same way he transformed the Ravens' offense for Lamar Jackson. That flexibility, that willingness to adapt, is what makes Harbaugh special. So where does this leave us? John Harbaugh is officially in charge of the New York Giants, not just the coaching staff, the entire football operation. He reports directly to John Mara. He has final say on personnel, and he's not shy about the expectations. World championships, plural. Joe Shane, he's still the GM, but his role has clearly been diminished. Chris Mara basically said the quiet part out loud. With anybody else, it might not have happened that way. They changed the entire structure of the franchise for Harbaugh. Shane is now working alongside the head coach, not above him. Is that a bad thing? Honestly, for a franchise that's been a disaster for a decade, maybe not. Shane's record speaks for itself. 1 winning season in 4 years. Maybe letting a Super Bowl champion run the show is exactly what the New York Giants need. But make no mistake about what happened here. Harbaugh walked in with leverage, used it, and took control of the franchise. He demanded a power structure change, nearly walked away when he didn't get it, and ultimately, he got everything he wanted. The Giants didn't just hire a brand new head coach, they just handed over the keys to the kingdom. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments section down below. Thanks for watching.